Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, our special guest is Chris. He began his real estate journey at a young age, starting a pressure washing business at 20 that led him into real estate investing. By age 25, he had accumulated nearly 150 rental units. Today, Chris and his partner focus on land home packages, buying land, placing new mobile homes, and selling them as affordable housing solutions. Together, they complete approximately 50 land home packages per year and also run a coaching program teaching others how to replicate this model. And he might just be able to share a little bit of that with us today. Chris, welcome onto the show. We're so happy to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Allison.
And I know I read through your bio and a little bit about what you do, but I'd love to hear from your perspective. What led you into real estate and the world of investing? Talk to us a little bit about what that journey has been like for you and what's led you to where you are today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been kind of a rocky path for me, at least when I started. I was going to school at a college called Kennesaw State University. It's about 20 minutes outside of Atlanta. And I got mixed up with the wrong crowd, got hooked on drugs. Long story short, I ended up getting arrested when I was 19, went to court about a year later, so I was 20. And my mom had moved to Greenville, South Carolina, probably 10 years before this. And after court, she's like, all right, we're going to move you to Greenville, get you out of this environment, fresh start, all that. So I was 20 years old. I was living in my mom's basement. I dropped out of college and kind of just trying to figure my life out. And I actually listened to this podcast. It's called the Sweaty Startup Podcast. And it's this guy that talks about service-based companies. And he kind of inspired me to go start the pressure washing company. So I started that. This was beginning of 2019. Started pressure washing. Long story short, I met this guy. He was a realtor, but he was also an investor. And I was always washing like his houses and apartment buildings and all that. And one day he sat me down in his office like, man, you're a young guy. Like, what's your goal? What are you trying to do? And at the time, like everyone, my first entrepreneurial goal was I want to make $100,000 a year. And he's like, man, that's a lot of houses. Like, you're going to be a tired boy pressure washing. You should think about getting into real estate. And so he kind of nudged me to go get my real estate license. So in July of 2020, went and got my license. First transaction I ever did as a realtor, it was my mom's neighbor. He had this old mobile home he wanted to sell, and he wanted $50,000 for it. And it needed a lot of work. So I put it in this real estate investor Facebook group. And he was like, look, if you bring me a buyer, I'll give you 3%, but I don't want to pay 6% and have you list it. I was like, okay, whatever. Found this buyer. This lady came through and she was also a realtor. So she bought the property, or I thought she bought the property. She became a realtor at my brokerage about a month after that deal closed. And I saw her in there one day. I was like, hey, what'd you end up doing with that mobile home? She's like, oh, I wholesaled it. I was like, what is that? And so long story short, she made $20,000 on the deal. I made about $900 after I paid the brokerage and all that. And I found out I was on the wrong side of the business. So about 2 months after I got licensed and did that deal with her, she was like, you should come wholesale with me. So this was beginning of 2021 at this point. I started cold calling with her, started wholesaling, did a couple transactions. And then that was kind of it. The rest is history. I started off wholesaling, and then I would kind of flip along the way. When I found some deals that made sense for me to flip and I could figure out how to get the money for it. And then that kind of evolved into me learning about hard money lenders and DSCR loans. And so then I was kind of just pick up deals that I could turn into rentals or seller finance deals kind of along the way as well. And then that led me into getting into mobile home parks, which ultimately led to me doing land home packages like I'm doing today.
I love it. No, that's quite the journey. And I'm glad, you were able to find this, that's really worked for you, and you've been able to have so much success with it and have made it, a really great investment strategy. Talk to us about land home packages. Maybe explain a little bit about what they are, some of the advantages, and for people out there who aren't familiar, maybe just break it down for us a little bit about what they are and how they worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go back to probably the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, my partner, Robert, we were flipping a lot of houses, and we had just bought a mobile home park together, and we had some empty lots in there. And we were wanting to buy new houses to fill those lots with. And so he was telling me how he has this dealer's license, which allows him to go directly to the manufacturing plant and buy these brand new houses at wholesale prices. And so he was telling me kind of what the prices were. And I was like, man, what can you get a new double wide for? And at the time, it was like $60,000. I was like, man, we should buy just a vacant lot, put a brand new one on it, make it FHA compliant, and sell it on the market. And so that's essentially what it is. We're buying raw land or land that already has utilities. We're putting a brand new mobile home on it, direct from the manufacturer. We permanently affix it to the land. So we do in our market, we do the brick foundation. Some people do just vinyl in other markets or concrete board, just depends. We do the brick foundation, make it permanently affixed to the land. That makes it financeable by FHA, VA, USDA, all the banks. And then we sell them on the market. So you can think about it as spec builds for mobile homes. But what we realized, that was the very beginning of 2023. We bought our first lots February 2023 to do this with. And what we quickly realized is this was a lot easier than flipping houses because, as I'm sure you probably know, whenever you flip a house, it's always a surprise. It always costs more than you think it's going to cost. It never sells for what you think it's going to sell for. It takes longer than you think. It was always a disaster. And it was kind of a roller coaster. We did really well on some houses, and then there was others where we lost money, and we were trying to figure out how we lost money afterwards. So anyways, when we bought 5 lots in February 2023 to do this with, and what we realized is all the cost is fixed for the most part. Your house will cost the same pretty much every single time. The only variance will really be the clearing and grading because some lots just have more slope or whatever to them and just need more work. But other than that, all the other costs are fixed. The cost to install the house, the cost for the HVAC unit, the cost for the decks, et cetera. And so what we realized is a lot more predictable. And then on top of that, what we really love about it is the median sales price for a home in our market, which is Greenville, South Carolina metro, is approximately $400,000 to $450,000. We're coming in and selling these brand new houses at $220,000, $230,000. So we're coming in at 50% of the median sales price, and there's just nothing on the market at our price points. And so they're selling really well still. And a lot of our buddies that are spec builders or other house flippers are kind of getting stuck with things right now and kind of struggling to sell inventory. And thankfully, knock on wood, we haven't had that issue yet. So that's another thing that we absolutely love about this strategy. So ever since 2023, beginning of 2023, when we started doing this, we ditched house flipping and haven't really looked back.
Yeah, I love it. And I know that's one of the things you talk about too, is why it can be more predictable than the flipping. Anything more you can talk to or Tessa that I know you just did a great job of explaining, why that's worked for you, but why is this so much more predictable and reliable than doing those home flips?
Yeah. So first thing is that the house is built in a factory and it's inspected before it left the factory. Yeah. And so I remember when we were flipping houses and we had a buyer and we were under contract, we were always holding our breath when they did their inspection report because we're like, what are they going to find? Like, is there something in there that we didn't catch or whatever? And they come back with a mile-long scroll of repairs they wanted. Mm-hmm. So with this, we never really have that issue because the house is already built. All we're doing is the site prep and installing the home. So we're never holding our breath for an inspection report. So that part's a lot more predictable. On top of that, when we were flipping houses, you break open a wall and you're like, man, I didn't realize this floor joist was, eaten up by termites, or I didn't realize the whole house needed to be rewired or whatever. There was always something that would pop up that was unexpected. And it even felt like sometimes we started to do inspection reports before we bought the house, and it still felt like there were surprises that came up. Whereas with this, we've had a couple surprises over the years, but now that we know what to look for, we haven't had any. A quick example, one time it was on public water, this property that we were doing. And we didn't realize that the water line was on the other side of the road, which meant that we had to bore underneath the road to tap into it. And what we thought was going to be a $5,000 water meter turned out to be $15,000 because of that. But now every time we know to check which side of the road is the water line on. So things like that have been surprises after going through it once, we just add it to our due diligence checklist and it's no longer an issue. So when I say it's more predictable, that's what I mean. There's not really any surprises. We've had some, but after having them, we don't have them anymore.
Yeah. And especially as you work through them, as you mentioned, those surprises kind of become less and less, and you're able to anticipate something more, or if something comes up, how to deal with it. And it's not as big as a surprise or something that, may be a big hindrance to getting a certain deal through. Any other pros or cons of working with these mobile homes? Why they're such a great opportunity? Any cons we should be aware of? What are some of the disadvantages, or maybe not disadvantages, but just things we should know about as we enter into this space that would be good for us to keep in mind and be aware about if we're entering into one of these projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I got probably two more pros, and then I'll get into the cons. Along the same lines of predictability, kind of like I mentioned, all the costs are fixed. So every project we go into, we basically know exactly what we're going to spend. And that was the other thing with flipping houses is when you end up with 20 grand worth of surprises, you're like, well, we didn't borrow enough for that. So I guess we're just paying out of pocket for that extra 20 grand. With this, we already know what it's going to cost every single time. And it's pretty straightforward. And then another thing, like I touched on earlier, we're still able to sell these really quickly because there's just no competition at our price points, and they're brand new homes, which people love. So they sell really well, and it's just a lot more streamlined and convenient and predictable. As far as cons go, at first, our biggest problem was we had never developed land before. We had no clue what we were doing. We were house flippers and owned mobile home parks. We didn't know about developing land. And so the process of that is a lot more difficult than flipping a house in some ways, because you have to learn how to finagle the county and then zoning, and then the kind of the order of operations with developing the land itself. That was a learning curve for us. Another con with these is financing. At first, 3 years ago when we started this, no one was talking about this strategy. I actually thought that we made it up. I thought we were geniuses because I had never heard of anyone else doing it. There was no one on YouTube talking about it, no one in our market doing it. And so at the time, there was no banks or hard money lenders that would really fund these projects because they didn't know what we were talking about when we said land home projects. That started to change a little bit, but that's still kind of a struggle right now for some people. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 national hard money lenders that are now funding these projects, but that's more recent. I'm sure there's going to be more along the way in the future, but that is one challenge that some people have now is funding these projects, especially when you don't have any experience and you're just starting. It can be a little difficult.
Yeah, that's where you could call your realtor or someone that is experienced in there to help you, kind of work through that. It's a great way, as you mentioned, if you don't have your own real estate license yet or want to become one, it's a great way to get involved, but also relying on a realtor, could really be a great option for you. Have you seen examples of people who, like, I know you said you had your license and you were familiar with this world already. Have you seen examples of others who, will have a realtor that can help them identify some of this and work through some of these deals? Or where does the realtor kind of fall throughout this process?
Yeah, so Realtor has been huge for us. We have a really good one in South Carolina that we use. And what we do every time is we get a piece of land under contract. First thing we're going to do is send it to him and say, hey, what can we sell a new double wide for here? And I would say he's been spot on like 90-95% of the time. And so that's the first stop for us whenever we get a piece of land under contract is what's it going to be worth afterwards? And we feel really confident in his answers. And that's been vital for us, especially when we started this, because the other challenge with no one doing these projects is there's no real comps of brand new houses or brand new mobile homes, I should say, that you can comp with. So we were going off of pre-existing models that have sold, which is kind of reliable, but still a little bit different. So he's been crucial in all of this. And that's one thing that we've expanded into other markets. And the first step for us is we need to find a realtor that knows what they're doing. So that's definitely crucial in this.
Yeah, and you mentioned just walking through like the land stuff and the zoning and working with the cities and municipalities. And that's where that realtor expertise really comes in. And that's what so many of our Ohio realtors are so good at is, knowing the zoning laws, knowing the codes, knowing what's going into a project. I mean, having someone you can trust, I know you said is crucial. And that's, one of the reasons why is, our realtors are so smart at what they do and know this stuff like the back of their hand and can be able to be there as a guide and making sure that, you're going into this knowing what you're getting into and knowing what needs to be accomplished. So I think that that's great that you work with one, have a trusted one. And I think I, would recommend that to everyone who, is looking to go down this path. So I think really smart, great to always have a trusted advisor with you as you're going through any big purchase, but definitely as you're going through an investment purchase such as this. So I think it's great.
And you're right. They definitely do help on the development side of it. I forgot about that because every county is different. Some counties can be a complete pain in the butt. Some are easy. And a realtor has helped us guide us through, hey, don't use this county because they're going to be so difficult to work with. Don't do anything there. So they are very helpful in that regard as well.
Exactly. And that's what what they're there for, to know their area. They work in very specific, areas of the state, so they'll be able to know that stuff and be able to guide you and know what to do, what to pursue, what to stay away from. So, you get the best for your investment. Absolutely. Well, one of the great things about mobile homes, and you kind of mentioned, the price that they're going for, almost, half of what the average home sale price is going for right now. And we hear so often, affordable housing, we need more affordable housing, we need more affordable housing. Talk to us a little bit about how it could be a great affordable housing solution. I know that price alone is kind of self-explanatory, but how does it fit into the affordable housing market, and how could that be a great solution for some of the challenges that we have with affordable housing right now?
Yeah, that is a big problem no matter where you are in the country. And I think everyone recognizes that. And I also think that's why more people are starting to jump into the space than there was 3 years ago when we started, because that is where the need is right now. And that's where the demand is. And we're seeing that on our side when we go to sell these, just with how fast they're going under contract. I mean, on average, for perspective, we're going under contract in 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes in a weekend still. And when I was flipping, I don't remember that happening since like 2021.
Yeah.
So
it probably won't ever again. A lot has changed since the crazy COVID time.
absolutely. So these are definitely the only solution to affordable housing, because past this, you only really have a tiny house, which is the next affordable thing. But a family can't live in a tiny house. It's not practical. And after that, all you have is stick-built houses. I know they're starting to come out with like the 3D printing houses or something. I don't know much about those, but this is really the only solution, just because the cost to build is so high still, and the cost of materials and labor and all that, it hardly pencils. And in our market, if you're doing new construction, you've got to sell it for 350, 400, which really isn't all that affordable. So it kind of is the only affordable housing solution, at least at this time, that I'm aware of, besides a tiny house, which is just not very practical.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great option out there. It's a great way to help with that challenge that exists. We all know that affordable housing is on top of everyone's mind, and something that, still needs work, and still, more to come on that. But hopefully this can help be a solution to this problem. So great idea, great option. And so one of the other things you do, and I mentioned this in your bio, in addition to all the work you're doing on the land home packages in the mobile home world, you're also coaching, and you're sharing with others, like you're doing here today, how to do it, what works well, what doesn't. Talk to us about your coaching program, about what you are offering to other investors and individuals wanting to take advantage of this, and a little bit about what you do through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you know who Brent Bowers is, the Land Sharks guy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that name sounds super familiar. Yeah.
Okay, so we met him at a conference. I think it was maybe 2.5 years ago. And we were telling him about what we do. And he said, man, you guys need to go coach this, because no one's talking about this. And so he kind of nudged us to go do it. And so we ended up partnering with Brent, me, Robert, and Brent. It's called the Land Home League is our program name. And we're basically just teaching people how to do land home packages from beginning to end. Brent teaches how to find the land. That's what his whole program is about. And then Robert and I teach, once you have the land, what you do to get the mobile home on it and get you from setup to sale, essentially. And so everything in between. We have a Facebook group community with it. We do 4 weekly calls, or like group calls. And then we also do one-on-one hand holding, essentially. Whatever someone needs, they call, text us, whatever. We're not gurus, we're just operators. And Brent really nudged us to try to turn us into gurus. But that's all that it is basically holding people's hands through these deals. Because like I mentioned earlier, when we started this, no one was talking about it. There's only a handful of people talking about it now. And there's not really many options for teaching people how to do it. And so we kind of saw that need in the market, because we had a lot of people in our market, at least in Greenville, that were like, man, I see what you guys are doing, but I don't know how to do it. And so a lot of people are interested in it, but there's not much guidance on YouTube yet, or other coaching programs teaching it. So that's essentially what we're doing. And if someone's interested in learning more about that, we actually funnel it through Brent's page. You can go to thelandsharks.com and book a call with him to discuss it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I know that's probably the biggest question out there, right? Is how do I get started? Where do I start? I know nothing about this. What's your advice to people on the steps they should be taking? Checking out your coaching program absolutely seems like one of them. But what is your best advice for individuals, realtors, non-realtors, who want to get started in this world? Where should they start? What are the things they should be thinking about? And best advice to them if they're interested in this.
Yeah, so I'll just break down the entire process, so that might help answer that. First step is always finding land. Of course, you got to find the deal first. With that, once you're under contract, we typically like to have at least 30 to 45 days of due diligence. In this time frame, if it's on septic or it needs a septic tank, we're going to get a perk test scheduled. We'll use a third-party soil engineer for that. It's a lot faster than waiting on DHEC. We're going to confirm zoning with the county to make sure a mobile home can go there. We're going to check neighborhood covenants and deed restrictions to make sure nothing's blocking us from putting a mobile home there. We're going to check that there's a public water access and get an estimate of how much it's going to cost for the tap, which is basically just a tax to the county or the municipality, and know how much it would cost to tap into that water source. And then we'll go to closing. We don't really get quotes beforehand now because we already know what things are going to cost and we already have the crew and all that. But if I didn't have that in place and I was just getting started, I would definitely quote out everything before you close on the land. So you're going to need a grading and clearing guy, how much it's going to cost to clear the land and do the grading to be scrape a mobile home pad to allow the mobile home on site. You're going to need a mobile home installer. So the manufacturer is going to drop this house on site, but they're not going to install it and block and tie it down. So you got to hire someone to go in there and do that. You're going to need to put decks on the house. Depending on which model you do, you'll have 2 or 3 decks on each door exit. You're going to need to get an HVAC unit. It comes with an interior furnace and ductwork, but you need the outdoor AC unit. We're going to be doing a gravel driveway typically, assuming there's no deed restrictions mandating a concrete one. We're going to do the brick skirting. At least that's what we do in our market. If your market, they do vinyl. Like in Florida, I know they mainly do vinyl or concrete boards, another material. You can do that as well. You're going to probably have to pour footers. In our market in Greenville, we're doing ABS pad footers. And basically, it's ABS plastic. The mobile home installer installs those for us, and they're free. In other markets like North Carolina, for example, they always do concrete footers. So you're going to have someone come in and pour those, and those cost about $5,000. So depending on where you are in the country, you may need to do concrete footers. If so, quote that. After that, after you have all your quotes together, close on the property. Oh, I forgot. You're going to need to install a septic tank, or you're going to need to get a quote to connect to sewer. Same with public water. You're either installing a well or you're connecting to a public water source. After that, you go to closing. Once you close on the property, I'm sorry, let me back up. One more thing to add in there. You'll need to get a manufactured home dealer's license, and that's a different process for each state. Without that license, you cannot go directly to the manufacturer and get these at wholesale prices. In Georgia, for example, you just had to pay like $400 to the fire marshal and they'll give it to you. In South Carolina, I had to submit a financial statement. I had to go take a class, take a test. It was a real pain. So depending on where you are in the country, it has different requirements, but you can Google that and it'll tell you what you need to do for your state. Anyways, once you close on the land, we're going to order the house. Right now, the house delivers in about 2 to 3 weeks, so it's extremely quick. Before the house arrives, we're going to clear and prepare that land. And if you're doing concrete footers, we're going to go ahead and pour those footers before the house arrives. Once the house arrives, you're going to install it. And then depending on which county you're in, that'll dictate how many inspections you have to do. In some counties, it's 2 inspections, some it's 4, some it's 1. So if it's only 1 inspection, you can do everything and then they inspect it at the end. But what I would recommend you do also during your due diligence process is get with the county and see how many inspections they have and what that process is, because that'll dictate what steps you take first. You're always going to start by clearing and preparing the land. But after that, are you going to connect the septic tank first and then the power and then the water? Or is it going to be the decks and the foundation or whatever? The list of inspections that they require you to do will tell you which things that they want per inspection. And that'll dictate what order you do things in. But after that, once the house is on site, we're usually set up and on the market in about 30 to 45 days. So start to finish, if we buy a piece of land today, we're on the market in about 60 days on average. So it's extremely quick.
Yeah, that's a pretty quick process. That can happen, very quickly. I could see why that would be a good strategy because it's not taking a ton of time to be able to do this all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And usually we're sold in another 60 days. So start to finish, we're usually in and out of it in about 4 months. Where when we were flipping houses, I remember it takes sometimes a year. I mean, it was
construction, like home, look, that work alone, if you need a lot of repairs and construction and dealing with all of that in itself it never runs on time, right? Ever. So that in itself is a lot. So having that already done in these brand new homes, that's very appealing and probably saves a ton of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned too, kind of just about all the different partners that you have, that you work with, engineers and things like that. Best advice on where you find these people. How did you find, all these experts that you work with on these projects. I feel like that's a pretty critical part too, is having everyone alongside of you professionally that can help and give you, advice and do some of the work on these. What's your best advice to find those people? How did you do it? Where can we find these experts that help us build up this project?
Yeah, that's arguably the most crucial part, because there's plenty of people that'll run off with your little deposit that you give them, or they won't show up or whatever. So a lot of it was trial and error. We had to fumble through some people, of course. But the best place that I found is these Facebook groups, a local real estate investor Facebook group. Go in there and say, hey, who's got a good grading contact or a good plumber or electrician or whatever it is, because they've already worked with these people, most likely, that they're referring to you. And that's been our best source for all these contractors. And once we've got our group of guys, we've just stuck with them. You can also just Google and call around, though that's a lot less reliable sometimes, and you never know what you're getting there. So first step is definitely going in those Facebook groups. That's been really fruitful for us in finding good people.
That's good to know. Yeah. And especially because a lot of those times they'll come with recommendations, or they'll have a Facebook page that can verify them and who they are. You can kind of run through, the verification process, make sure they are who they say they are, someone you can trust, so that they're not running off with any of our money or anything like that. But yeah, finding those people, starting those partnerships, I think are key and essential in moving the project forward. Great advice. What are we missing? What haven't we covered? What else do you want people to know about this? This has been so great so far. I feel like I've learned a lot. I know our listeners have learned a lot too. What are we missing? What do you want to make sure people know about this opportunity and the exciting benefits that can come with it?
That's really it. I mean, it's just how consistent it is. It's easy to streamline. For perspective, Robert and I, like you mentioned earlier, are doing about 50 to 60 of these per year. Our team is just him and I. We don't have some big office full of employees. We don't want overhead. We don't want to deal with people. We don't want to manage people. It's a nightmare, and I'm not cut out for that. So with these, it's a lot more scalable because there isn't surprises. It is the same thing every single time. It's the same house. It's the same process. It's the same setup. And that's what we love about it. The main thing for me when I come on these podcasts is I like to break down what the overall process is, so people have a general idea of it. And I think I kind of covered everything that I have, unless you have any other questions.
Yeah, no, I think this is super comprehensive, very streamlined, well to understand. What's next for you, Chris? I mean, you're nailing the mobile home world, doing such a great job with all your homeland packages. What's next for you and your business? Do you have any exciting projects you're working on? Anything, you have up and coming? What can we be excited about?
This is all that we do. And then I just take the money I make from this and go buy mobile home parks for long-term income. That is my whole goal in the whole system here. I've become a lot more narrow-minded and only focus on mobile homes now, whether it's land home packages or mobile home parks. That's all I buy anymore. And one thing that I've learned is narrowing my focus like that has been extremely helpful. I used to be more of a jack of all trades, and I did some multifamily deals, and I did mobile home parks and single family and the little duplex and all that. And it just was too much. So becoming an expert in one thing has been really beneficial for me. But that's all that I'm focused on moving forward. And then, of course, the coaching program as well.
Hey, I love that. When you found something that's worked well for you, that you're good at, that you can make money off of, I think that's a great thing to focus on. And I think that's awesome that you've been able to narrow it down. Probably causes a lot less stress in your life when you know you're only focused on this, not having to worry about flipping houses or anything else like that. Probably brings a lot of peace of mind and allows you to focus on what you're really good at, which I think is great.
No, that's been immensely beneficial. And then also, wholesalers or other people in our market, whenever they get a mobile home deal, they think of either me or Robert. They know that that's all we do. And so that also has been very beneficial in getting deals, is just being the guy that only focuses on one thing. And that's your top of mind when someone gets a deal that looks like something that you would buy.
Yep, absolutely. No, it's a great win-win all the way around. Congrats on, the great work you've done so far, and for being so willing to share with others. I think that's so great. And that's one of the things that I love about this real estate industry is, there's enough to go around for everyone, and people like you who are willing to share how they did it, how they've made it work for them with other people. I think that giving mindset's so important, and it's a really cool thing about our industry. So thanks for being so willing to do that, for coming on, sharing with us today a little bit about you and your business and how we can, take advantage of it. So I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your wealth of knowledge, and for your time here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And to all of our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week. We'll talk to you then. Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.